roll in whenever he feels like it. That seems to be the general rule of things. Am I accurate on that? That's awesome. Love that. I love that. All right. So, for those of you who don't know, I run the Telegram channel here, AMC Archive. It's the only AMC channel that's worth a damn on Telegram. There's a few. Whoa, that's actually kind of catchy. The only AMC. I just said that like for the first time ever. The only AMC channel on Telegram worth a damn. I like it. I should trademark that shit. I think I'm gonna. Anyways, moving on. So yeah, it's great having Boss Blunt's Ape Average will show up. He's on Drug Dealer Time. That's fan-friggin-tastic right there. Great having you on. Last time you were on, it was a great time. I had a lot of great questions. We do an Ask Me Anything every Saturday. Before we get to the audience and the crowd, I do have a few things I do want to go over and talk with you about. But first, I got to clarify something for my listeners, and for anybody else that happens to be watching, because it was a question that especially with everything that's been going on lately with the YouTubers and the pump and dumpers and everything, guys, I am still holding strong. So what I'm going to do to prove this. And, everybody's always, oh, you shouldn't show, what you're doing. You shouldn't be doing any of that kind of shit. Seriously, I don't care. I'm going to show you one of my brokerages that's going to show you that I haven't fucking gone anywhere. And that's my Fidelity one. Now, I have 3 different brokerages. You're not going to learn my whole position. I'm not going to tell you everything. But I will show you this one. Here's my Fidelity account. Here's my AMC. And you can see right here, 1/29/2021. So that is that's my long. I've got long. Look, and see how I bought all along in this one account, 5, 6, and around June I switched to another brokerage. But you can see all of these shares haven't gone fucking nowheres. And to prove it even more, I've got the matching Ape shares to go with it down here at the bottom. So for anybody that questions my veracity that I'm a whether I'm a holder or not, I'm a fucking holder, and I ain't going fucking nowheres till we're all filthy fucking rich. I mean, that's really what it's all about. So I wanted to show that real quick because, there's always that question. People are like, oh, are you really this guy? And yeah, I really am. I really have been holding that long, and I've been adding to my position since. So that's the first thing. Boss, one of the big things that I've been, as you know, I talk to a lot of my people on the side. And one of the big things right now they're asking me about is COSM, that whole debacle where, and some of them even bought a few and they were like, oh, I couldn't sell. And I was like, well, are they going to do that with AMC? And I wanted to get what your thoughts are, first off, on what your thoughts are on the differences between the two plays and how realistically, in my mind, AMC is not going to do that because the problem with the COSM was allegedly locates, like they couldn't find the shares. But with the AMC play, when we're squeezing, we're the locates, we're the shares that they're looking for. So I'd like to get your thoughts on that and those two things.
Cosm doesn't have any of the plus side that I'm seeing on AMC or GameStop. I don't even put them in the same category just because they're stocks doesn't mean that they're alike whatsoever. So I haven't put any money into it, and I've had a lot of people in our community also that have had some issues in in selling their Cosm, and I was like, well, sorry, man, but that's why when people asked me about it, I told them I don't think it's worth a damn. We got some feedback on your end, brother. Yeah. Sorry about that. I'm not sure if it's on my end or yours.
Yeah, and that's the same thing that I've pretty much been telling people kind of all along, is that these OTC stocks, these little low float fucking bullshit stocks, Can you make money on them? Absolutely. But you got to be like a day trader, and you got to be really fucking serious about looking at the charts, and you have to make sure you have a good, solid entry and exit plan. But if you get caught and you miss the pump happens and the dump's happening, you're going to be holding the bag. And unfortunately, a lot of people, like with the GT2 and the Cosm and all that shit, got into that pump and dump. And then, of course, the influencers, I'm doing the air quotes again. The influencers are all, they're all, oh yeah, just keep holding. No, that's not how these work. Pump and dump is, if you miss the pump, you're fucked. And I mean, can you make money on them? Sure. But I mean, I used to mess with them. I don't anymore. They're just so volatile and crazy and dangerous. So I always recommend people just be really fucking careful with them. But as far as like the not being able to sell, I'm trying to explain to my people, and I'm sure you've run into the same questions too, that when AMC squeezes, we're not going to have that same issue, because quite literally these are the droids they're looking for. They're looking for our shares. They want our shares. They don't want us holding them bitches any longer than possible. They want our shares. So I can't see a situation where that happens.
Yeah, I don't think that's really an issue. Not to mention, Cosm was they announced a 1-for-25 reverse stock split. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was 1-to-25.
So anytime there's news, there's going to be a halt of some sort. And if they went PCO, that's not something that entirely concerns me. People are telling me that Cosm was not OTC. It's NASDAQ CM. Okay. It doesn't matter to me. And Cosm is not owned 85% by retail. I think it's a fucking trash stock. But I mean, many people are investing in it, and that's fine. That's great. I wish them all the best, and I hope they make a lot of money. But I think it's fucking garbage. I don't even put it in the same ballpark as AMC or GameStop.
Oh yeah, it's not even close. It's not even. It's literally a pump and dump. I mean, that's absolutely what it is. It's a pump and dump. People got together and said, "Hey, we're going to pump this shit up. We're going to sell at the top and fucking stick the bags on a bunch of fucking stupid retail." And I hate to phrase it that way, guys, but that's their thought process. So you got to really be careful. If you're going to play these kind of plays, and you really need to look at your sources first, and you got to do your own homework. Just blindly believe anyone.
It was at $23 Cosm at the end of the day, December 16th, and after hours it was down to $7.23. Like that's nothing. That's actually like the definition of a pump and dump, if you ask me, because retail couldn't sell anyways, and who's going to do it in the after hours but institutions?
Well, and the thing is even at $23, I mean, it was like 20 cents before the 25-to-1. So at $23 after the reverse split, that's like $1 pre-split. So yeah, it went from 20 cents to $1, but now it's back down to 7. So you're back about the same spot you were before.
Hey, right.
And I bet pre-market it's going to go even more.
And that's basically 92 cents. You're right. If you divide 2301 by 25 for the 1-for-25 split, that's 92 cents. So, being back to $7.23 after a split like that, that's actually 28 cents. So,
yeah. So it's pretty much right back where it was, and retail couldn't sell during that spike. But I mean, I guess if anything, I mean, there's always something to learn from every play, even if you're not in it. And that's one of the things that I like to encourage my people is look at the movement here. Okay. Regardless of whether you're in this or not, what you think about this thing, honestly, I've told my people that I'm staying right the hell away from it, because it's a dangerous thing. I don't want to go near it. But look at the movement here in one day from 286 to 2370. Regardless of the split, the circumstances, or anything like that, that's the type of movement that can happen in a stock on any given day. So for the people who are like, okay, well, what kind of, can it really go to this in a certain amount of time? Yeah, like we can really squeeze up really far, really fast. And this isn't even really like a crazy one, but that's a really good, significant, that's a 10x. If you bought here and you sold here, you're looking at a 10x in one day. Now, multiply a few days back to back of 10x, you're talking some serious cash. And things can actually go a lot faster than that too. So I guess if anything, that's something you can learn from this, but there's a lot of other lessons I guess you could learn from it too. So yeah, I've had some people that were, they couldn't sell and they were freaking out, and I was like, this is what happens with these kind of deals. I mean, this is how this works, and this is why it's not playing around with these kind of things is just it's a dangerous thing. So speaking of squeeze, something I got asked a lot of to ask you was, what are the things that you're like, do you have specific indicators you're going to be looking at, specific websites, specific information, anything specific that you're going to be looking at to kind of indicate to you, hey, the squeeze is starting? I mean, besides, the price is fucking rocketing.
Well, I can't give away all my secrets, but let's be honest. Do you really need... If you have to ask, the squeeze hasn't started.
Right.
That's really it, to be honest with you. I don't have any... I do have many, but if you have to ask, the squeeze hasn't started, because you won't have to ask. You'll know.
Right. Well, it's almost like this. I've tried to describe it like this. It's almost like milk. If you smell the milk, if you have to ask, is this bad? It's not bad yet. Because once it's gone bad, you know immediately. You're like, oh yeah, this is bad. There's no in between. There's no like halfway. Like, and that's the thing with this is you're gonna know shit's going down. Like you really are. Like that's the thing for me. And there's so many different things to look at. One of the things I did want to bring up with you, and I wanted to see what your thoughts on this particular indicator. Because people are always like, well, the price is going down, so people have to be selling. Well, that's not true. One of the things I look at right here is the OBV. This is on balance volume. It's a really simple indicator. It goes up when there's volume that is buying volume, and it goes down when there's volume that's selling volume. I mean, that's the most basic way that it can be described. And you look at when these two spikes happened here, you can see in the on balance volume down here at the bottom, you can see these two happen. But look at this coming down from the June run up to now. It's fucking dead straight across. Nobody's been selling shit. So people, I've showed that to people and they're like, oh, well, that's just, the chart's not really. Okay, so let's look at SPY real quick. Okay, so here's the run up on SPY, and you can see the run up. Look, I mean, it's a gentle, gradual up, just like this was. And then on the way down, you can see it going down in this on balance volume. So this is like actual selling that's happening. And of course, there's shorting and options and all kinds of other shit going on. But on balance volume is a really good way to look and say, hey, if this is flatlined, but this is going down, this is telling you that people aren't selling. This is a bunch of options bullshit and shenanigans. Do you agree with that statement? And do you have something else to add?
Aaron, ask me that question one more time briefly, please.
Okay. The on balance volume since the June run up in AMC is pretty much a flat line, indicating that we haven't sold.
Yeah, it means that people are still holding. OBV
right.
would have gotten crushed already if people had sold their shares, at least the majority of people. OBV does not stay that high naturally unless people are holding, period. Especially for such an extended period of time.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's a long period of time. So for anybody that's got any doubts or whatever, I mean, honestly, the DD is done. The information is done, and of course, we're finding more and more all the time. And Boss and Ape come out. I encourage you guys to follow them because they come out with a lot of good shit all the time about the new shit we're finding, about the verification of shit we already knew. It's important stuff to have yourself educated. And I think Boss would agree with me when I say this too, is that anything that he says, I wouldn't take it. This is nothing personal, Marcel, but I wouldn't take anything you say at 100% face value. But I would use it to go research on my own. I don't think you'd put shit out that's, bullshit or whatever. But it's important that people understand, you can, even myself, like, don't listen to me, don't listen to Boss, don't listen to anybody 100%, but use what they give you and use that as the starting place for your own education. And I think that's the thing that I think a lot of people do in the ape community, but I think a lot more people should understand that. They should be educating themselves. Let's see.
I agree with you. We go through great lengths to make sure that the information we put out is accurate, but people should still go out on their own and check it for themselves. Yeah, absolutely, Aaron. I don't take offense to that at all.
No, people should be doing that anyways. If everybody has been doing that all along, the world wouldn't be in the situation it's in right now to begin with, in a lot of different areas, not just the stock market, but if everybody just blindly believed what the TV told them, we'd be screwed. We'd be absolutely screwed. All right, I got some hands up, Boss. Are you ready for some AMA action? You got your quick draw?
Yeah, go ahead.
Slingshot.
Let's see what we got.
All right.
I hope for some good questions. Right, I need a challenge.
We got a couple right off the bat here. We got Alan Potter and John. We're going to start with Alan and then go to John. So hold on a second here. Alan Potter, you are live with Boss Blunts. How are you doing tonight?
Hi there. Can you hear me all right? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Right. About the ape. Yeah. Right. If they're trying to drive the price down to start to close their positions off, surely that's going against the whole ethos of, because people will just carry on buying, won't they? Do you understand what I mean by that? So they'll be buying more shares at a lower price, so they'll be in the same position.
Yeah, one second. AMC Archive, we got some feedback coming through. I'm not sure if that's just me or if anybody else can hear it, but I'm hearing myself and I can hear Alan through your speaker for some reason. But Alan, could you give me a concise question there? Like, what is it that you're asking?
Let's just say, for instance, last week you were trying to say that, or I believe that you were saying that they're going to try and start the squeeze, or they possibly will start the squeeze at the lowest price they can get the share at. Is that right?
Well, it's just common sense, right? When they know they got to move the price upwards, they're going to use new shorts and new swaps to bring the price down as far as possible before they have to close out old ones.
All right. So, but doesn't that create the same problem?
Yeah, that is exactly what it does. It does create the same problem, but they're new short positions. They could be from different companies, different holding companies. They could be swaps. There's all sorts of ways that they can manipulate the price downwards. They don't even have to buy or create short positions. They could spoof the price. They can commit wash sales. They could ladder attack it. And they could just spoof it down to as much as physically possible before they start actually buying shares or delta hedging.
All right, then this question, how far will ape squeeze to a certain degree and then get transferred into AMC, or will they both go up together, or one without the other? How will that work?
Well, my friend, now you're kind of asking for financial advice, and that's the future, which I can't see. Theoretically, they're both in the same derivatives basket of AMC1. So when one moves, it moves the basket up, And as a byproduct, the other one should move along with it. That's why the other day when we saw 82 million volume, about 3 weeks ago, we saw 82 million volume on APE, AMC preferred equity shares. The price of APE went up, the price of AMC1 went up, and the price of AMC went up, because both APE and AMC are the true value of AMC, which is AMC1. You got to look at both of them. You can't have one without the other. So I can't tell you which one will squeeze first, which one will squeeze higher, because that's not the way that it works. Like, one can be manipulated downwards while the other one is squeezed, if that's really what has to happen. But at the end of the day, it's still going to cause the price of the AMC1 derivatives basket to go up. That'll create implied volatility increases and price increases on the one underlying share. So say, for example, APE goes up a lot because retail owns 97% of it approximately, and people buy more, institutions buy more, or there's an actual issue like a margin call or a market crash situation. If APE starts to go up and call contracts go in the money, calls are the real danger, not just shares. Shares are important, but calls are where the real danger comes in. Because when you have call contracts that start going in the money, then broker-dealers and others have to start delta hedging. So they have to start buying back more shares or more call contracts themselves, because some calls that go in the money are inevitably going to be exercised. And the more calls that are exercised, the more lots of 100 shares that need to be delivered. And people that have APE that goes in the money and AMC1 that goes in the money, well, APE will go in the money via AMC1. So the price of AMC1 contracts go in the money. People would then be able to sell some for a profit if they wanted to. Additionally, they would also be able to exercise some call contracts. And if they exercise AMC1 call contracts, for each one that's exercised, they'll receive 100 shares of APE and 100 shares of AMC. Therefore, whether they like it or not, via the share locates required by those 200 shares that need to be purchased, 100 respectively of APE and 100 respectively of AMC, for that one call contract, the price of the other security will go up, causing the price of the derivatives basket to go up, causing further, FOMO buying and possible gamma squeezing, and then, more delta hedging. So they're linked at the hip.
Right. Okay. It's a lot more complicated than I thought it'd ever be. But that's because obviously I don't know a great deal about the markets. So, but thanks for your help. It does explain something to me.
I appreciate that. I know it is complicated and there's a lot going on here, but now we don't just have the price of AMC, because that's only half. The other price, the rest of the price is in APE. And as we know, upon issuance, they were pretty much 50-50. So if APE is at, 78 cents, 80 cents, and AMC is still, around $5, I think APE's a hell of a deal. But that's just me,
That's what I was really aiming at. I was basically trying to get, is it worth buying APE? Really?
I can't tell you yes or no on that. I just can't tell you, is it worth buying this or is it worth buying that? Because that's financial advice. But I think it's a hell of a deal. I think they both are. I think they're amazing in price, and like Alan, like Aaron here from AMC Archive was stating at the beginning of the Telegram, I've also got a vast amount of shares. I've shared a purchase of a $100,000 purchase of AMC and APE shares on one of my accounts with IBKR, with our YouTube channel. And so a lot of people are well aware that I purchased AMC when it was around $9.70 and APE when it was around $5.50. And I've continued to average down on my prices, on my shares. I've got 5x shares of AMC and APE just in that one account. And I've got multiple brokerages as well. And I continue to average down and buy more call contracts. But that's my risk tolerance. I understand that any dollar I put in the stock market, whether it's Apple or AMC or Tesla or anything in between, even if it's crypto or some sort of equity, anything has the chance of going to zero. And I just say that if I'm not willing to lose all my money, I shouldn't put any of it in the stock market. But that's just me.
Okay, I really appreciate what you've got to say, because obviously it's educational. But my last question for you, sort of, and then I'll just listen, will be, it's the old one now. Can this go on forever? And I'll thank you and I'll leave. But thanks very much for your help.
I've actually really appreciated your insights and your questions, Alan. So thank you very much, Mr. Potter, for that. Can this go on forever? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Something's got to give. It's already happened twice. It happened in January and it happened in June of 2021. And I'm a little surprised it's taken this long, but I'm not shocked. Their resilience the resilience of these, short hedge funds and institutions and banks is to be admired. And I know that if I had trillions of dollars or billions of dollars in my companies, corporations, and they were paying my bills, and I was making a lot of money off of them, I wouldn't want to give up. And just like Ken Griffin said, they're going to keep fighting every single day for one more day. He said that himself. He said specifically, he was like, every day we didn't know if we were going to make it, but we kept fighting for one more day. And they managed to stay in business. And that was, several years back before the AMC and GameStop thing. And he was very proud of that. And I'm sure the same kind of situation is going on here. The price is very psychological. And when institutions and mainstream media talk about or state that retail hasn't capitulated, they're not talking about people that have their 401ks and stocks in like blue chips. I firmly believe they're talking about retail investors that are invested in meme stocks, but they'll never come out and physically say that until after the market has crashed, until after these margin calls go out, and until after the whole world is basically margin calling each other to try to maintain their own solvency from the other person that's margin calling them. I see a situation very similar and a lot of similarities to Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns in 2008. And now we've got 130, 140 different cryptocurrency companies, hedge funds, crypto exchanges going out of business already. It's only a matter before some prime brokers go under business too, Credit Suisse or the likes. And inevitably, that's going to be even further losses, whether it's like Evergrande or, the 53% of Canadian people with balloon rate mortgages that lose their homes. Prime brokers around the world are going to lose a lot of money. And then margin calls are going to go around and short positions will not be able to maintain their margin. That's my belief.
Well, and I'd like to add on to that a little bit, in that in order for this to go on, quote unquote, forever, they would need to be in control. I mean, and seeing the things that are happening around the market, around, things like FTX, around things like Evergrande, around, Credit Suisse, all these different things that are happening, they're not in control, because none of that shit would have happened if they were in control. It's just that, I mean, to keep things as simple as possible, can they make it go on forever? Yeah, theoretically, anything is possible. But for me, the simple fact that they're showing signs of not being in control tells me that we're closer than we've ever been, with all these other things happening. Like the tokenized AMC. I'm actually getting a bunch of questions about that, and I see a bunch of people in your YouTube chat asking the same thing about the tokenized AMC. What are your thoughts on not really the discovery? I mean, we know that FTX had those there, but what does that mean? Are they going to have to cover those? Do they bury those? I mean, where do they? What is the end result of these tokenized AMCs that they've obviously used? They've obviously used as a derivative to hurt our stock. What is your thought on how that gets handled, or if it gets handled?
This is a very complicated question.
You wanted those.
Yeah.
You wanted.
Let's see, man. We could talk about this for like 2 hours straight right now, but let's look at it this way. With the tokenized securities from FTX and Bittrex specifically, and not talking about wrapped AMC, but actual tokenized securities issued by exchanges like FTX and Bittrex, that we know FTX did not have on their books. So even though Sam Bankman-Fried came out in his Twitter space call and said that he believed, to the best of his knowledge, that they were backed 1-to-1, doesn't mean they actually were. And we know this because we got the FTX bank books from their bankruptcy filings. And we know that they didn't have a single fucking share of AMC or GameStop. So that means that if they ever did have them, they sold those long ago. In addition, so basically, they're supposed to have over 500 million shares. I think 550 million shares, or 525 million shares at FTX, and then another 625 million shares at Bittrex of AMC to back these tokenized securities 1-to-1. And that's like 1.1, 1.2 billion shares. However, only 516 million shares of AMC exist. 85% of those shares are owned by retail investors. 5% is owned by ETFs. Another 5% is owned by insiders. There's another 21, 22% of reported short interest. And that right now, right there, then you've got already numbers way over 100%. And that doesn't include rehypothecations. It doesn't include shorts marked as long. Married puts, married calls, divorce puts, divorce calls. It doesn't include the price action of wash sales and spoofing and ladder tracks. And let me just keep going here. Let me go for another hour talking about this. But no, really, and it doesn't include the swaps or the futures or other contracts, is the swaps and such. And not to mention, not just is the swaps on the stock themselves, but, shorts on the exchange traded funds are not included. And it also doesn't include, swaps that affect the tokenized securities of AMC and of FTX and Bittrex. Those are both bilaterally netted OTC securities. And that means that ISDA swaps can be issued for or against them, either to use them as collateral and or to use them to go long or short the stock. Therefore, that's an easy way to hide short interest and failures to deliver. But they never had these securities at FTX or Bittrex. And when FTX went bankrupt, they basically took away all those FTX fake AMC shares that gave them 101x leverage. And they took away those, let's call them phantom shares. Oh, my little one's angry. Sorry. They took away those phantom shares as well of Bittrex, and that caused the cost to borrow of AMC to start to skyrocket. And the cost to borrow, the minimum, the maximum, and the average went up to around 315, 320%. Excuse me a minute.
It was crazy. Uh-oh. Kenny got him.
Nah, my kid's screaming in the background, so I want to mute it because she just walked in. She's angry. But what's going to happen with the TSOs?
She's mad about all the shenanigans. She's mad about all the extra shares that exist that shouldn't exist. I don't blame her. I'd be mad too. I am mad.
But as to what's actually going to happen with the TSOs and the shares of AMC there, well, they never existed. They were never there. They were just used to manipulate, and that leads me to believe that they're extremely desperate. I'll be right. Give me a minute, okay?
Okay. So, and I'm going to ask him too when he gets back. So realistically, what he's saying is that they never existed, which is accurate. They said, these are backed 1-to-1, and they were used obviously to manipulate the price. Now, one of two things can happen. One is which is what we would be the ultimate, would be like, hey, like if all of a sudden the SEC like grew balls and said, hey, FTX assholes and market makers who worked with them, et cetera, et cetera. Anybody who is involved in this, now you've got to create a real share. You've got to go out and buy a real share now. That would be amazing. That would be the squeeze. It would be an absolute amazeballs situation. I don't think it's what's going to happen. I think it's more like what he's saying than that. They didn't exist before, so they don't exist now, which means that they just don't exist.
You know what does exist though? Those swaps, the swaps that were taken out against them, and
right.
It's likely that they had to create new swaps, or if because those likely are becoming or have already become defunct, or the swaps also lose value. So they may have had to take out new locates in other places. It's a really tough situation with those TSOs because there's a plethora of ways in which they could have been using them. We found proof that they can pretty much be used according to the documents. The documents lead me to believe that ISDA swaps are able to be issued for them, and I think it's pretty clear, and also be able to use the TSOs as share locates for broker dealers. Now we don't have actual proof of the swaps themselves because they're in ISDA banks filing cabinets and stuff. We don't actually have those like visible on the market. Those are not on the ticker tape. They do not hit the NBBO. They just trade from one entity to another, $2 billion plus entities that trade in the ISDA market. So if some of them lost value and they had to go out and fetch shares, it would cause an increase in price. And that could have been what we saw around November 25th, 28th, etc. It could have been that. It could have been shorts closing positions on the C90, the 90 calendar date, returning fills to deliver on AMC preferred equity shares. It's tough to say because we don't have access to that as retail investors, But when the fact that these things are happening and these numbers are changing and the prices are changing dramatically and drastically and then getting shorted straight back down to where it came from, I think that's a clear indication of delivery of shares and then issuance of new swaps and securities and such against them to short them, even if indirectly via ETFs shorting or shorting tokenized securities elsewhere, or the wrapped AMC, etc., uses share locates. So what actually has to happen with the TSOs, I can't say for sure because nobody can, except for the players that are actually were accepting them as share locates and that were holding the swaps against those. So it's very complicated. And it's not something where we can quantifiably say this is what's happening.
Right. Well, it's intentionally ridiculously complicated. That's the whole thing we're fighting against. Honestly, the market doesn't need to be as complex as it is. It is over time. It has been turned into this hyper complex, ridiculously complex, ludicrously out of this world complexity. So that way, the normal person has no idea what the fuck is going on. That's the point. They don't want you to know. And that's what we're fighting against. And that's why educating ourselves is important. I absolutely believe. You mentioned the ISDA banks. Now, when they have to start taking care of these swaps that you were talking about, do you think that is something that is going to put them in a position where they're going to have to start looking at margin and saying, "Hey, little family office over here, this is too much. And we're not gonna bear that risk for you anymore. You need to make this right."
Inevitably, I think. I think inevitably, if the Fed could prop up the market forever, we never would have had a market crash, and we have one like every 7 years. And this is worse than the global financial collapse ever could have been, because it's the GFC just pushed down, 13, 14, 15 years down the road. So everything just had a chance to multiply. They printed more money. They, continued easing, quantitative easing, and it just made everything much worse. So The reality of the fact is that, if we had a market crash in '08 and then 30 days later, with Porsche owning about 52% of Volkswagen, it squeezed to $1,000 a share, and they settled with the government for $1,000 a share and the hedge funds. And that's not something that's going to happen with retail. So, retail owns 85% of AMC and around 97% of APE upon issuance. Therefore, they are fucked. Hedge funds are fucked, and that's why I think we're going to be filthy fucking rich.
Oh yeah, no, we're this is a win situation. The only way we don't, there's, I always say this, but really the only way we don't is two ways. One, we all tuck tail between our legs, run away like little bitches. I don't think that's going to ever going to happen. As a matter of fact, I think that because they've taken so long, they've made us stronger. And I know a lot of people in the community, and I talk to a lot of people. And honestly, over time, I have seen us get stronger as a group, as a people, as a unit, as individuals. Like, just because now it's at the point where it doesn't matter. Like, it's zero or squeeze, and oh, okay, you want to shorten it? I don't give a fuck. I'm just going to sit here and hold and hold and hold, and I'm going to buy more, and I'm going to buy more, and I'm going to buy more. There's no way. Like, people have gotten to the point to where they're stubborn now. It's not as simple as it was like a year ago. Like, if they just covered a year ago, or you know what I mean, like that was their only chance. It's too late in the game now for them to just get us to walk away. It's just not going to happen. People are just not going to walk away at this point. We're too battle hardened to do that. Or cataclysmic earth event, in which case stocks and money aren't really going to matter at that point anyways. So that's the two options that we don't have this event happen. So I'm not worried about that. We got a pile of people raising their hands though, so we're going to get to that, boss. And I found our echo issue, so it should be better.
Thanks,
let me
my
know
man.
if it sounds better on your side.
It's perfect. Thank you.
All right. And let's see, John, you are next on the air. Hold on a second here. John, you're up. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How's everybody?
Fantastic.
Nice. Thanks for coming on again, Boss Bunts and Average Ape. Really appreciate it. So I asked some questions last time, but I also follow the Russell, and like I wish I could post a picture or something like that. But I was looking at the chart on Monday. I don't know if you're able to go on Yahoo Finance and real quick and look at the movement for Monday for the Russell, but I what the fuck is that? Hello?
You're looking at you looking at IWM, the 2000?
Yeah. But the price action for Monday, like
Monday.
I don't is that like dark pool happening? Is that like is that the high frequency trading? But like also like that's legal too? Like that's not like natural price action or like normal people. Like it's supposed to be free and fair markets. Like like we can't do that as regular investors, like the people and stuff like that.
Well, we don't move the stocks anyways. You got to understand. Yeah. As retail, we don't move the stocks. Honestly,
no,
we don't.
I feel like that's like blatant, like crazy. Like I mean,
well, this is Monday. This is Monday for the Russell. This is Monday for the Russell 2000. What
do you see? What I'm talking about?
It's I don't know. What are we?
What's your question, brother?
Specifically.
Oh, it looks like it was like bar, like kind of like it was like crazy, like 1 minute it was going like straight up, and then 1 minute the next down. It looked like a kind of like a earthquake measurement, like the paper, like how they do that for the price action for Monday.
You mean these dips and rips here, right?
Yeah. No, okay, but when you zoom in, when you go in like more, you're looking at the like just if you pull up. Like,
I'm looking at the 1 minute. Oh, you're looking at 1 day.
Yeah, like just at that one, like at that 1 day, and not like over days.
Okay, Monday.
When you're looking at like the 1 minute,
Monday's
retarded.
Monday is this green candle right here.
I know what you're asking. You're basically asking why was Friday so volatile?
No, just like you're not. That's not the right chart that you're looking at. If you could pull up like the 1 minute and just expand it for the day.
Yeah, this is the 1 minute. This is Friday. This is Thursday. Wednesday.
Oh, okay. I guess I have a different. Yeah. Zoom in more or whatever. But it was just
This is Wednesday, and this is because of the rate drop, because that's right at 2. So that's what that is.
So I don't know if it's IWM or is it just the Russell that I was looking at. Is that two different things or no?
Well, the IWM is the Russell 2000. That's the one that AMC is in.
All right. So no, I guess maybe I was looking at something else or whatever. But
John, basically,
I had a question about the tokens.
Hang on, John. Hang on.
Yeah.
Friday was options expiry for December. It was the month of December options expiry date. And Wednesday we had FOMC meeting. And Tuesday we had, I think, was it CPI or PPI, you know? The markets are fucking broken, bro. They're fucking broken.
No, like that's what it looked like. It just looked like fucking,
they're broken.
So
like, I'm telling you that they're fucked. And algorithms are just doing everything they can to keep up. So that's why you're seeing these swings in the, the SPY and the Russell and the Dow of 2-3% up down. One day up 5 days in a row, down 5 days in a row.
Like that. It like the price action looked like crazy. From what I was looking at that day, it was like 2 minutes. It was like all the way up, and then 2 minutes it was all the way down. It just like there wasn't like no in between. It was just like going up and down, up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
Like
well, I mean, there's going to be. Yeah, there's going to be crazy volatility right now. I mean, honestly, if we're at the point where anytime J Pow speaks, the market goes fucking nuts one way or the other.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I mean, that's just where we're at. Because, I mean, the economy is fucked too. So, I mean, there's a lot of everything is pretty much fucked. I mean,
John, though, you need to know.
I never knew how fucked it was. Like until like this this guy with the FTX and like all this tokenized stuff like came out. Like that was like a kind of like a cherry on top to all this for me.
Just to give you a heads up, John.
The only thing
AMC is no longer in the Russell 2000. It's in the Russell 1000 now. It got reweighted last year in July. So it's not even in the Russell 2000. But the thing is, if you compare the Russell and the SPY and all these together, compared to 2008, it looks almost exactly the fucking same. And the market charts are tracking for a market crash sometime between the end of January and March of 2023, if they continue the same as they did in 2008 compared to the current charts. And I'm just saying that's just what the charts are showing. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen because obviously nobody can see the future, right? But if you look at it for yourself, you'll compare the charts and you'll see it. But I'm running out of time, bro. You got any other questions we can discuss?
No, I had one more question. Just with the tokenized, I just want to like kind of understand that a little bit. So what were they exactly doing? Like these big places, they were buying tokens and then they were able they were for a certain amount of shares and then they were able to like use them how they wanted. Like what would be the point of them doing that than actually like getting the shares loaned out from a brokerage or something like that? Like what was the point? Was that just so they could do more crime? Like that's what I don't understand. Or how I mean
that's the bottom, John, that's definitely the bottom line of everything. I'm gonna put you back in the crowd here for now, and I'll have Boss go over the a basic definition, I guess, of what a tokenized is. What exactly is a tokenized stock, I guess, would be the question.
Oh, well, man, I think we've discussed this quite a lot over the last several sessions. But to put it simply, it's a derivative. And it's a derivative that can be abused via swaps. And FTX and Bittrex never held the shares of AMC and GameStop and these other meme stocks that they said they did. And if they did, it wasn't on their books when they filed for bankruptcy, that's for sure. So the fact of the matter is that it's very easy for manipulation to occur on OTC markets. And being a bilaterally netted OTC derivative, swaps can be used against them to go long or short. And as they're used on the tokenized security instead of on the stock itself, it does not show up as short interest. So it hides short interest and failures to deliver, so the public can't see them. Period.
It's all about the shell game. All right, let's get to. We got Fred Flint's had his hand. I think all the blood has drained out of his hand. He's had his hand up for so long. Hold on here, Fred Flint. How are you tonight? Fred Flint has not located the mute button yet. If he is speaking, we cannot hear him as he is still muted. This is a common theme amongst speakers on the AMC Archive Saturday Night Chat. Fred Flint, you are still muted. We cannot hear you. Going once, going twice. I'm sorry, Fred. If you do have something, go ahead and raise that hand back up and we will get back to you. In the meantime, we will go to Golf USMC. Golf USMC, how you doing tonight?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So thanks for filling my question, and congrats on your success for keeping this chat alive for so long. So my question is, are you familiar with ChatGPT-3 and the OpenAI concept that's been introduced into the world?
Come again, please.
Yeah, that's the artificial intelligence thing that they've been talking about on Twitter, correct?
On Twitter, so I couldn't answer that.
ChatGPT, yeah, it is an AI. Yeah, what about it?
I'm really big into IT and technical advancements, so I've been playing with it, trying to see if there's a specific way that using artificial intelligence these days is kind of a game changer. So being able to introduce a specific scenario where ChatGPT can start to help people understand certain concepts of the market, introducing strategies and certain options trading, introducing those types of questions into a ChatGPT and getting answers back to help them understand it.
Interesting. The markets for the most part, and I'll see what Boss has to say on this too. But for me, the markets for the most part are run by algorithms, and GPT being an AI would probably understand those algorithms better than we would. So that's an interesting use of that technology. Boss?
I would be surprised if that AI had sufficient knowledge of, markets and swaps and derivatives to be able to issue any actual information that would be helpful to a trader. I'm just, who knows what information it's been fed, but there are too many changes in documents and regulatory bodies and such, and market mechanics for, the AI to really issue any good information, mostly because things are ever changing and the algorithms that control the markets for the various funds that are trading don't give a shit what the AI thinks, and they can change their mind, and they can be programmed in different ways at any time. So I know I understand what you're trying to say. I just don't really think that it would be, other than for like your own education and learning more, it might be very helpful for that, but I don't think it would be helpful like in trading or actual market mechanics, other than like learning more about it yourself.
All right. Looks like we lost Golf, but I hope that answered your question there. And it looks like Fred Flint's gonna try a second time. Fred Flint, round 2. Did he find the mute button? Fred Flint. Fred Flint. Going once. Going twice. We cannot hear you. You are muted. Look for the microphone button down at the bottom. It's going to slash through it. If you press that microphone button, it will allow you to speak, and then we will be able to hear it. And in such a case, such a situation, we would then be able to answer that question, making a conversation. But you are still muted, so we're going to sit you back down. Good try. Next, we got Les. Hold on a second here. Les, how are you tonight? Will Les find the mute button?
Yeah,
there it is.
How are you?
Good. How are you, Les?
Yeah, not too bad.
You got a question for boss? And he's gone. All right. All right. Well, that's I don't see any other hands up right off here. Let me take a look real quick. I do not see any. So, did you get a chance to, boss, while we're waiting for the hands to come back up? Looks like Fred wants to try again. But before we get back to Fred, did you get a chance to listen to the Dave Lauer call with Gary Gensler? And what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I listened to some of it. And basically, Dave Lauer and Gary Gensler confirmed everything I already knew. So it was it's nothing new. Gary Gensler came out and confirmed everything we were saying about the fact that dark pools distort price discovery. And didn't say he was going to do a goddamn thing about it. So I'm happy that the SEC has passed the new regulations. However, they still have to go to the commissioner's vote. And then if approved, they got to go to public comment periods. And then based on the comments received, they either get dropped or modified or implemented. Big shout out to my guy Pantheon AMC for pulling that info together. But basically, yeah, there's new regulations being issued by the SEC. And I think it's really important that people comment on them. Things from, regulation of best execution and payment for order flow. There's actually quite several of them here. Let me take a look at them and I'll shout them out. Like item 1 was insider trading arrangements and related disclosures, which is absolutely phenomenal because we need, changes to insider trading and the disclosure of that information. Item 2 was disclosure of order execution info, which is also good for retail. We need more transparency, period. And then regulation NMS is item 3 regarding minimum pricing increments, access fees, and transparency of better priced orders, which means that tick sizes would have to be adhered to on a larger tick size, which is also, in my opinion, very good for retail. Item 4 is the order competition rules. And item 5 are the regulation best execution. So then we're looking at basically the best price execution having to be, auctioned off. It has to be met at a certain level. And then it would also be auctioned off to various lit markets at the same price as dark pools would be able to basically bid on, or they'd be able to bid higher, but they basically receive the same payment from both. So that takes away a lot of the basically money via payment for order flow that would be going to these basically dark pools. So I think that it's very important that retail does vote on those, and they can at sec.gov, basically, and they can not vote. I meant comment, as they're going to vote on it again, and basically that the more comments that are in there that people want these things to be passed, the better of a chance of us actually getting what we want as retail investors. Because a lot of people are like, oh, it's not going to make a difference, but it actually is. Gary Gensler's coming out and he's telling us on this space call with Dave Lauer to, put in your comments so that the SEC and them can see what they are. And the more comments that we have in there, the better, as long as people stay respectful.
Right. I agree with that too, in that, we do need to make our voices heard. I think for the most part, people think that Twitter is probably the best place to make our voices heard to the SEC. It's not. I mean, it's really not. I'm going to tell you right now, that's the worst place in the world to try and get the SEC's attention on anything. It's great for sharing information between ourselves, like between us, like for spreading information out to the general public. But as far as communicating with a government entity, I think we should all know by now that saying something on Twitter is not going to get the attention of the government entity that we would hope. And I mean, the call for me was just kind of. I mean, the rules are important, and I think that all of the rules we have seen, the ones that are being worked on now, are all important for the future. I personally, and this is my own personal belief, and maybe you think differently, but I personally believe that all these rules that have happened or are current, like right now, kind of rules, are not going to affect our play. They're not the thing that's this is that rule goes into effect on March 3rd. Oh, MOAS confirmed 2 p.m. Where's FX Hedge? I just don't think that's going to be the case. I think that it's going to come down to margin calls. It's going to come down to liquidity crisis. It's going to come down to that kind of situation that's going to make this happen. I mean, there's a bunch of different catalysts, but I just don't think a rule is going to make it happen. But that does not mean, and let me be clear on this, those rules are super important for the future to make sure that we don't our markets don't get fucked into this stupid position that they're in now. And I think that's more what the rules for me, from what I've kind of seen in the time I've been in this and the research I've done, that's what the rules to me kind of mean is that, we're not going to be put in this position again. And I'm sure the other side does not want to be in this position again either, because we got them fucked basically.
I have to agree with you on there. The regulations that are happening right now are not going to change things immediately. They're going to take time, as everything with the regulatory bodies and the government and stuff. I think they're just trying to make sure that this can never happen again, and that's why I think it's one of the once in a lifetime opportunities for life-changing wealth.
Absolutely. All right, we got Spark X. Hold on a second here, Spark, you're up. How you doing tonight?
Hi, total novice. I'll try and make it quick. So I'm listening, and my conundrum is trying to determine whether to buy more. And if all the shares are outstanding, when I looked at APE, should have been for just people who owned legit shares, and there's how many billions of them out there. My concern is if buying more when there's none to be had, what's that going to turn out like? Is it possible they just say, well, sorry, shit out of luck. It wasn't a legit share. So.
No, that's not the way markets work, my friend.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how deep should I be jumping in again? And now seems to be like a great time to get back in again. But that was my concern, is that if there are no shares to be had, then I'm buying nothing in the end.
No matter what, you still get shares, even if it's an IOU. The thing most people don't realize is you don't know if you have real shares or fake shares in your account. They're not actually even shares in your account. They're just IOUs in your account that are issued by the broker, given to you by the broker dealer, and they have to deliver them when you sell.
Okay.
So it doesn't really matter, and they can even still fail to deliver them, and they can just move them to an IOU under another person, another entity, and that's the way that the markets are set up right now. When they could be set up, for example, like with a serial number, or like traded on blockchain, and there would only be a certain amount. But if they did that, the market makers wouldn't have sufficient liquidity to manipulate markets. So I don't see that being changed anytime in the near future. So the best we can do for now is trying to do everything we can to get as much regulation and power in the favor of retail investors. So it doesn't matter. Like, okay, your question is asking financial advice, and I can't really answer that for you. I can't answer that at all. If you want my honest opinion, my opinion is don't put a fucking penny in the market you're not willing to lose. That's my advice to anybody that asks. And I'm not trying to say like you specifically, right? Just like anybody. It's like I put a lot of money in the stock market, and I'm aware that no matter whether I'm buying Apple or Tesla or AMC or Microsoft or whatever, there's a possibility, albeit small, but there's a possibility that I could lose every fucking penny. So I just want people to keep that in mind.
That's not a legit market. Talking about like a corrupt market, where in the end they just decide, sorry, you're part of a Ponzi or whatever the case may be, where they absolve themselves of ownership of responsibility.
I think I get what you're
everyone
saying.
gets fucked anyway.
That's not really the way
I
markets
get what
work.
you're saying. I think what he's saying is, if he were to let's say Spark, you were to go out and you were to buy, whatever, 1,000 shares tomorrow, and then next week, let's say we squeeze, and you go to sell them, and your broker says, "Oh, you don't have real shares, you can't sell them." Is that what you're asking? Is that a situation that could occur for you? I'm just going to tell you that's not how it works. If you placed an order with a broker for 1,000 and they confirmed your order and said you bought 1,000 at this price, when you go to sell them, as far as the broker is concerned, as far as the market's concerned, you have 1,000 shares at the price you bought them for.
Right.
So
right.
whether they're real or not, when you go to sell them, they can't tell you, oh well, these aren't real shares. They're rehypothecated, synthetic shares. That doesn't fucking matter. You bought them. You own them as far as the market's concerned.
Yeah, like for ape, for instance, let's just say for argument's sake, there's 100 shares of AMC to 100 ape shares. That's all there is, right? If that's how many there are, that's how many there are. But there are way more ape shares that are floating around out there and being traded than exist. So when I look at that and I go, okay, well, that's not legit. Manipulation or whatever, dark pooling, whatever the hell's going on in the back end that creates all these synthetic shares that don't exist. At some point, there's only just so many, and those are the ones that are worth whatever they're worth. And anything beyond that, synthetic and imaginary, being traded, are worthless. And my concern is if
no, that's not the way that markets work. All shares, whether synthetic or real, have the same value. All of them. Right. All of them. And the fact of the matter is that there are more shares out there than the float. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be here. Because I'd like to take, if anything, the fact that there are so many synthetic shares and all these tokenized stocks and the short interest and these swaps and all this mainstream media FUD against AMC specifically, even more so than GameStop, but all these stocks, if anything, that's what gives me the fortitude. It's what gives me conviction in knowing to say thank you to short hedge funds. Thank you to the market makers. Thank you to Janet Yellen, and thank you to Jerome Powell for setting up this fucking system of allowing over leveraging to the point where banks like Goldman Sachs are over leveraged 53 to 1. They got $55 trillion worth of liabilities, notional derivative values, and then they've got, like $2.5 trillion of assets. A lot of those are rehypothecations that are going to affect multiple banks and prime brokers and market makers and such all around the world. So the fact of the matter is that if it wasn't for that, I would have never gotten into any squeeze whatsoever, because it's the manipulation in the markets and the synthetics that allows this to happen. And when things go out of control, that's when we get fucking paid, just like we did in January and June of 2021 on AMC and GameStop. So you're afraid of the same thing that got you here. You're afraid of the same thing that's allowing me to make money. And that's...
I'm actually really excited. And,
I hear you, but you're saying you're concerned
exactly,
about that, right? Like you're concerned about, oh, what if we're not going to get fucking paid and this and that, and that's not really the way the market works. If the price is fucking going up and you decide to sell a share, someone's going to buy it, most likely. If there's volume and there's buying pressure, and then they're going to be looking for shares, and unless you wait until too late, why wouldn't somebody buy them? If there's FOMO, why wouldn't I buy your shares? If your ceiling is say, for example, 500 a share, why wouldn't I buy it if I think it's going to 5,000 a share or 50,000 a share? So
I'm in for the long haul.
I'm just letting you know. It's like it's an understandable concern, man. But the fact of the matter is that I wouldn't be here if I didn't think that these shorts needed my fucking shares and needed them badly.
Yeah. I have a basic understanding of that, and you know, they only got so much time. But what I didn't quite understand. Well, their time came, and they should have had to have paid off trillions of dollars, and nothing seemed to change.
The DTC withheld their
Yeah.
margin call. That's why I've been saying from the very beginning. I know that, you know, we may have just be crossing paths now here for the first time or recently, but since last year, since before I even invested $1 in AMC, I knew that a market crash. I believed, and I still believe, that a stock market crash was inevitable, and that it would occur in order to get paid out of my AMC and GameStop and such.
Right.
In order to properly get paid. Like, I made money in a shitload of money on my June 2021 call contracts. And such, but I was not satisfied. You know, I bought shares at $76 a share. I also bought more shares. You know, I bought shares at $5 a share, at $8 a share, and all the way up and back down, because I don't believe it's over. And I have enough conviction, and I've learned sufficiently about the markets to realize that I don't think it's anywhere near over. I don't know. It could happen. It could happen on Monday. It could happen next month, next year. I don't know. But until then, I'm just going to keep on buying and holding, my man. You know, it's like
yeah. I bought in at 9, and I watched this roller coaster. It's been absolutely phenomenal, and I've learned so much along the way. And I appreciate you putting with my my newbie questions, and I've learned so much just listening and watching you guys and your posts, and so I do apologize again for the.
No, let me interrupt you on that real quick. There is never a need to apologize for wanting to learn more. Absolutely not. That's I appreciate that. And even if
I'm
you
Canadian.
feel
I'm Canadian.
Hey,
So
I'm almost Canadian.
There's not a lot. I mean, there's a heck of a lot of Canadian theaters that I see. I see very few AMCs. It's not like I go to them very much anymore. But
I don't think there's any AMC
I
in
saw
Canada
this
right now.
and I you know, paid quite a bit of attention to it, and that when I did jump in, I went, shit, I should have jumped in yesterday, because things started to moving, and I went, okay, it's now. And yeah, it's been watching you guys has taught me a lot. So again, thanks.
All right, appreciate it, bud. Hey, you have a great night.
You too.
All right, we got a couple more here. We got Dara Brumfield, who has had her hand up a few times, so let's get to her. Dara, how are you tonight?
Good. Can you hear me?
Sure can.
Okay. I'm a total novice. And one night I was listening to Santa Surfing, and she was sharing this. I think it was in 2021, like in March or something. And I ended up, like, I just listened to it. It passed me by. And then I heard a voice. I heard a voice, and it told me to buy AMC shares. It told me, you know, to buy them.
Preach.
Yeah.
Preach.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
The Lord has come to me and said, buy the AMC.
And I'm not a super religious person. So, like, when it happened, I was like, wow. Okay. And I did. And I didn't sell in June. I kind of held on. Like, a lot of people were telling me I should have got back my original investment, but I held on. Okay. My question tonight is, do you feel that the current politics and administration is holding off the squeeze?
Ooh, wow. Boss, go for it, bud.
Well, as long as they're holding back a market crash with the plunge protection team, 100%. 100%.
See, that's
100%.
That's what I feel. And here's the other thing. I almost feel like it would be better for this to happen after the change. Because I feel like they'll steal our wealth if we get it. Like,
after what
am
change?
I stupid? I don't know. Because I am really naive on the market. Honestly, I am. I'm a horse trainer.
Oh, no worries. And that's awesome, by the way. What do you mean change? You mean the change over to like CBDC or something?
Well, I'm just saying, like, if we, there's so much corruption in every friggin' aspect of our lives. from 0 to 100, it's corruption, corruption, corruption.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a Trump fan, sorry, but that's who I am. And I just feel like they're trying to expose a lot of this stuff. And I'm wondering if we were to have the squeeze prior to an administration in that regard, would we end up losing some of our more of our wealth? Like, is it better for it to hold off until these guys are forced because they're going to be exposed to the nth degree? They're not exposed yet. What they're doing is still not exposed. It's so obvious how much they cheat us.
Yeah, but if you remember, I'm sure you remember 2008 to some extent, you know? And even before then, nobody knew what was going on. And even after then, very few people knew what actually happened. You know, very, very
Right.
few. And it's a very similar situation now. We are some of the very few that understand the things that are happening in our markets. And even like as you say that you have limited understanding of the markets, I think from the way that you're from your investment and the due diligence that you've done, you're probably more knowledgeable in the corruption of the markets and the manipulation that's occurring than the vast majority of people, whether you know it or not. You know, but I do think that the administration is doing everything in their power to prevent the market from crashing, and as a byproduct, keeping their buddies in power. You know, both in Wall Street and off Wall Street, and it kind of all goes hand in hand. They're well aware. The White House and the Feds and Janet Yellen are well aware of the overleveraging by hedge funds. Under her testimony for the CARES Act in September of 2021, Janet Yellen told us that the top two threats to our financial stability are, number one, these stable coins, and number two, overleveraging by hedge funds. Those are top one and two. And you've already seen over 150 cryptocurrency companies, exchanges, and actual cryptos themselves go bankrupt just in the last month or two between the FTX debacle.
And I remember Trump saying, like, my younger sister was like so head up on Bitcoin. She was a little more involved than I am and more knowledgeable than I was, and she actually spurred me to get involved. But I remember Trump saying that he did not trust the coins, you know, the cryptocurrency, because it's not regulated and it's not this and it's not that. And I remember him saying that, and I just said, I'm like, I hate to blindly just trust him, but he had done well for us, and I did trust him and still do. And so I didn't really get greatly involved in that. And now look what we're finding out. So I just feel like there's more to be revealed. I don't know. I guess I'm hopeful that we'll get into an even better place where retail, I mean, like the wholesale people have tools that far surpass us, because we're kind of going on instinct and intuition, and they've got, you know, what do they call those things that you know, could on a I don't know if it's AI or whatever, the algorithms, on the algorithms, they can buy stuff and they can just beat us out so quickly. Like, we don't hardly have a chance, but it should be more fair. It's really basically stealing from us legally.
Yeah, the stock market is a tough game. You know, it's the vast majority of retail investors lose on the stock market. You know, and I've made a lot of money and I've lost a lot of money on the stock market over the last several decades, last 2 decades that I've been trading, and I have never felt so strongly and convicted about a positive stock price than I do about AMC. You know, the fact that it's down doesn't change it at all.
Don't know. Okay, you just don't know how awesome that is for all of us to hear, because when you first thing I wake up in the morning is I hit the thing and look at it, I'm like, okay, it's green,
yeah.
it's red, it's red, it's red, it's green.
That's the thing.
My happiness falls, and just one second, my happiness rises and falls on green, or red. But that makes me feel really good because you are watching it really closely and you do know a lot more than a lot of us would know. I'm staying. In fact, every time it goes really low, I on my pittance, I buy more because I have a very strong feeling that you're right.
Well, and it's important to remember too that, you know, I mean, if the are you doing dishes, Dara?
Well, I'm sorry. Done. Sorry.
It just got very watery for a minute.
If I would have been on the phone a little while ago, you wouldn't have heard me because I would have been cleaning stalls. It's okay.
No, but you know, I mean, really, the thing is don't let it, because honestly, this is a psychological game at this point. This is not about if it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Like I said, the only way that we lose this is by people psychologically losing and getting out. So one of the things you want to think about for yourself, and it's, of course, this is a choice for yourself, is if you find that looking at the chart every day makes you feel a certain way, and it, you know, it kind of brings you down or whatever, yeah, just don't do it. Because I'll tell you, when things happen, you'll know. You'll know. You know what I mean? You will know. So, I mean, don't let that let the day to day, because the day to day really doesn't mean shit.
It is a grind. It is a grind.
Yeah. Don't. There's a reason that, you know, people who day trade and look at the stock market all day, every day, there's a reason a lot of them have heart attacks and, you know, stress related issues all the time. It's very, very stressful to sit there and watch tickers all day long. So don't do that to yourself. Number two, you know, like what Boss said, and I always preach this too, is that only spend what you're willing to say. Hey, you know, once you put it in the market, just pretend like it doesn't exist anymore. It's like if you go to a casino. When I've gone to a casino, I don't bring any credit or debit cards with me. That's the number one rule that I have.
Right.
And I only bring a certain amount of cash. And I just look at it as this cash doesn't exist anymore. And I'll tell you what, I have more fun that way than if it's, you know, oh, well, what if I, you know, I got to pay bills and do this. Like, don't gamble with your day-to-day stuff. I mean, you know, you got to make your own decisions, but
no, I
just
agree.
make sure you're doing the right thing.
Money's just tight. There's no two ways about it. But I'll put 20, 30, whatever here, there. I'll just keep pushing it back in because for now, I mean, I'm buying it at a much better price, and I'm like, even if it goes to 30, I'm going to be doing great. So
you're cost averaging. You're cost averaging right now, and that's great. So, all right. Well, Dara, I got one more person I want to get to.
Thank you so much. I'm
Marcel
so glad I got
disappearing.
to talk to you.
No, I'm here real quick.
Appreciate you hopping in.
Dara, you know, I appreciate you for bringing this up and for asking these questions, because a lot of people feel that way. And I gave up emotions in the stock market a long time ago. It just needs to be, they're just numbers on a screen. You know, once you deposit that money in there, that you should pretend like it's gone. You know what I mean? And if you're making profits, it wouldn't hurt to lick your ice cream.
One last little thing. I'm in Robinhood. Is that going to be a nightmare for me?
I am very bearish on Robinhood. Very bearish on Robinhood. I transferred my few shares that I had on Robinhood out of there a long time ago, back last year. And I look at it this way. Ape, you can't even put a recurring investment on Ape right now in Robinhood, but you can do it on any other stock, for example. But they won't allow you to invest recurring investments on it. They say, you know, and in the past, they've gone position close only on it, as have other brokers, but there are brokers out there that didn't, you know. I'm pretty sure Fidelity and Schwab did not go PCO, you know, but then others like Interactive Brokers did. You know, I've got $100-something thousand worth of shares of AMC and Ape on IBKR still, though, you know. So, and I've got other accounts as well. So I'm well diversified. You know, I don't have all my eggs in one basket, you know.
I'll let you go because I know somebody else is waiting, but it's
You
so
rock.
good. Thank you so much, you guys.
You too. Thank you.
Love you. All right, take care. Bye.
All right. And it's so funny. Robinhood, I do have Marcel. I actually have 4 brokerage accounts. Guys, I've been lying to you guys forever. I've always said that I had 3 brokerage accounts. Hold on here a second here. I got to get the text for my 2-step authentication. Way, 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 way back in the day, I got a Robinhood account. This was probably, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, maybe even longer than that. I don't know, but it was a while ago. Anyways, and I got my free share of GE. And hold on. What I did was I sold that share of GE, and I bought a share of AMC. And hold on here. And here it is. I still have my 1 share of AMC with the corresponding 1 share of APE. And with the remainder I bought 20.15 Dogecoin. So yes, I'm a shill. I have a Robinhood account with the 1 share of, I look at it this way. I'm just going to leave it there because it's 1 fucking share. I mean, but worst comes to worst, if there's some kind of lawsuit against Robinhood at a point in the future, I've got AMC in there. I could be part of some class action and get a nice little check maybe down the road. So that's the way I'm looking at that. All right, let's see here. Jim Saba has had his hand up. He is going to be the last speaker of the night. I think Marcel's getting ready to make like a baby and head out. So, Jim, we're going to have you hop up here. Jim, how are you doing tonight? Jim. All right. His microphone is unmuted. Can you hear him? It says he's speaking. Can you hear him, Marcel? Oh, there we go. Hello. Hey. Okay, I can hear you.
Okay, you can hear me now.
Great.
So wanted to discuss about my Fidelity account, and called up the other day and asked why I couldn't trade more than 500 times the price of a stock, and wanted to see their policy on it, and got a bunch of runaround. And they just said that was an internal memo that no traders are allowed to trade more than 500% of the stock. So I actually filed an SEC complaint and got some kind of bogus comeback from Fidelity, but I never did get a written policy from them. What's y'all's opinions?
For me, my experience has been, I've heard a lot of people try to do this. They put the they're trying to put their limit orders, for 10,000 a share or whatever it is. My experience has been that if you go too far of a percentage above the current price, they just don't put them in because they're not viewing it as a legitimate order. And even though I understand like it's a legitimate order to you, but as far as they're concerned, it's way too far away from the current price to be a legitimate order. And they're probably viewing it as like a spoofing order, although they, most of the time don't give a shit about people spoofing orders. But that is my thoughts on it. I don't know if there's anything more specific you have for that, boss.
Man, the thing about sell limits is there's no sell limits on my call contracts. That's why I love options. But there are limits on my shares. And that being the case, like some brokers have different limits. I have Fidelity and others as well, but I don't have any shares for sale anyway. To be honest with you, I have call contracts for sale. I've got tens of millions of dollars in call contracts for sale with orders already pre-placed, but I don't have a single sell order for a single share yet. And I'm not going to place those. I'm not going to sell it in my shares until last. And that's because I want to be able to make money off of my call contracts and then exercise call contracts to get more shares and create further gamma squeezing and delta hedging from the broker dealers and these guys. So for me, I'm not interested in putting in any sell orders in my brokerages for my shares anytime soon, but I definitely want to have sell orders placed for my shares before we get to that price. For example, like say I'm going to just use, this isn't real in any way, so I'm just going to say like $6. Okay, let's say if I want to sell at $6, I'm not going to wait till the price is at $5.50 or $5.60 or $5.80 to sell at $6. You know, same thing if it's 60,000. You know, I'm not going to wait till the price gets to 60,000 to place a sell order. I'm going to place it well before then for a price before there. So I'm not trying to give you any advice. It's like what to sell at, right? I guess what I'm trying to say is, if the price is going up and it's getting somewhat even slightly close to where I want to sell to, within a 500% range of there, then I might put in my sell order for my shares. Does that make any sense? We can't influence how high or what percentage from the current share price your broker will allow you to set a limit order for. But there is something called a stop limit order, and you could try playing with that, because I know some people have had success in setting not a limit order, but a stop limit sell order at a very, very high price that far exceeds the 500% of which you're discussing of the current limitations from your selling broker. So there's other ways where you could try to place a limit order, such as a stop limit order. I'm not saying that you should. I'm just using that as an example. And I'm not overly concerned right now, and even if it's only 500%, you know, if let's see, if the stock price is at 500 and 500% more than that, you know, is pretty high, you know, $2,500, right? So if I want to sell at 2,500, for example, when the price gets to 501, I can place my order. And that's just a little like indication for me, or like a little example of how easy it'll be to place an order, as long as you're paying attention. You know what I mean? I check the stock price every day of all my favorite stocks, all the stocks on the market, but I don't dwell on it, and I don't take too much time on it. I just kind of see what's going on. I have my alerts set, my notifications set to tell me when the stock prices get to a certain price, and then I'll consider selling my shares as we get there. You know, it's like we got to put one foot in front of the other. You know, I don't worry too much about the max price of AMC, because it doesn't really matter to me. If it goes to 500, 5,000, 15,000, 25,000, 50,000 a share, those are all great successes. I got to be realistic with myself, that saying that at what point do I think the DTC or the federal government would have to step in and say, okay, you know, we're basically looking at complete financial collapse of the DTC, so you know we've got to call it quits at, say, 25,000 a share, for example. I don't know. So that's something you got to decide for yourself. You know.
Right. I don't look at the market all the day, or excuse me, every day, and I just wanted to at least get some kind of profit. I got about 6,200 shares, and I just wanted to sell like 2,000, and you know, just to get like my money back, my original investment.
Cool, man.
And then,
that's great. You're a whale, bud. I like that, Jim. That's fantastic. You got 6,200 shares. That's fucking awesome, man. The fact of the matter is that if you want to sell, you know, at, let's say, 250 a share, I'm just throwing out a number, right? And we can't, because it's more than 500% above the current price. You know, you set some notifications on your phone, on your broker. Go in there and go to the settings, or have someone that's tech savvy help you, and have it send you a notification, like a ping notification to your phone if it goes up by a certain percentage. So that way you don't have to watch it, but you'll get that ding, and you can take a look at it and see, like, oh, look, AMC's up 150% today, or whatever. You know, AMC's hit this price. And that way you're kind of reminded that maybe you should set a sell order, you know, for those shares when you get closer to the price you need to be at. I think that might help you out, so you don't have to sit there and, you know, you don't even have to look at it every day if you don't want to. You know, I have email alerts set up, so I get emails when my options or positions or shares or things on my watch list get to a certain percentage point, and I think that would be really helpful for you.
okay, well, I appreciate your advice. Thanks.
No problem, bud. It's good meeting you.
All right, good meeting you too.
All right. And yeah, I mean, that's it exactly. Setting alerts is honestly, that's really kind of the best thing. One of the things I have set up too is that anything on my watch list that moves more than 10% in like a 20-minute time frame, I get a ding on that too. Um, and so and then I'm like, oh hey, what's going on with this one right now? Um, there's different ways of doing that, but that's a great way to keep yourself informed. You don't have to worry about it. And as far as the 500%, rule, like Boss was saying, if it's at $50, 500% is 250. So if your sell price was, for example, 250, um, set an alert for 50. And when it gets there, I mean, at that point, you could set your sell order. Um, and it's not like something you would have to like rush and do, because I'm pretty sure how this is going to go. And again, I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure it's going to take more than just a couple of nanoseconds for it to go from 50 to 250. Now, granted, it can get there quick. It can get there quick. But I think if you set an alert and just, I think you would have time. So, and maybe set a few different alerts, and just do it that way, just to make sure. But of course, if shit's blowing up, I'm going to let you know too. If you're in the channel, you guys know when shit happens, I let you know. Marcel, I know we're over your hour and a half. I appreciate you coming on here and talking to the family over here. It's been great having you on here for sure. Your knowledge and information is absolutely invaluable. It's given me all kinds of different things to look at. The people in the channel appreciate it wholly. I mean, one of the great things that I like about you specifically, that maybe people who are new to you or whatever, is you're about education. Um, you're about education, and you're about people learning and growing, and you know that is the key to all of this. The more all of us know, the more educated we are, the more powerful we become. And I've always believed that, and I've always preached that, and that's one of the things I like about you, is that you're not just hey, I'm just going to give you a fish. I'm going to teach you how to fish too, and this is how you do it. And that's awesome. And I appreciate that. And I'm sure a lot of your people appreciate that. And I know my people appreciate that. I got all kinds of feedback after the last time you were here, except for the Matt Core's thumbs down. People like fucking with me too. So just so you know, all the thumbs down is that's people fucking with us. Unless Matt is actually on the channel. Matt, if you're on the channel, I'm sorry. Dark pool does affect price discovery. Now, I believe Dave Lauer and Gary Gensler probably know a little bit more about it than you do. So if he's here, that message is for him. Boss, do you get any parting words, advice, tips, life lessons, gambling hotlines? Anything you would like to talk about before you take off?
I would like to say thank you, Aaron, and everybody here at AMC Archive Telegram group. You guys have been amazing to speak with, and to hear from. It's nice to have other AMC investors from other communities and families such as yours here to talk about this stuff and to learn from each other. I've learned a lot here from Aaron as well, and also from you guys specifically, everybody who comes up and asks questions. And like, I learn a lot about it as a retail investor. What is going on in your head, and what are your thoughts and feelings on the situation, both positive and negative. And I think that's extremely important, because a lot of you reflect a lot of the same things that many people that are retail investors are thinking and feeling, and that's completely okay. I think that it's completely normal and natural. The one thing I will say, you got to keep in mind that Ken Griffin and Citadel Securities literally hire psychiatrists and psychologists and sociologists and PhDs to help their programmers and their developers to properly code their algorithm in order to get you to capitulate.
Ken has his hand raised.
Oh, fuck Ken Griffin. So their algorithms are coded specifically to get retail to capitulate, and that includes drawing things out as long as possible and dragging the price down and giving a couple of decent green days and then smashing it down for weeks on end. Meanwhile, the OBV, the on-balance volume, is pretty much at the same place that it was as of last year because retail hasn't fucking sold. If they have sold, if a lot of people had sold, it would be reflected in the OBV, in the on-balance volume. And I know I haven't fucking left. I haven't gone anywhere, and I'm not fucking leaving until I get my fucking money. And excuse me, my channel is an adult channel, so I apologize if this is a family-friendly channel here, but we keep it pretty down to earth.
I wouldn't worry about
over in
that
Boss
too much,
Blunt's
bud.
think tank. But you know what? I just want to say huge thank you to Ken Griffin and Citadel Securities, Virtue, and Susquehanna and Bank of America. You know, I want to say thank you to these short hedge funds and banks. Thank you to Janet Yellen and Jerome Powell for allowing the over-leveraging of prime brokers, hedge funds, banks, and family offices like Archegos and Citadel around the world. Archegos, which has already gone bankrupt, Melvin Capital, which has already shut down, you know, Tiger Global, which is down like 58% year over year on their investments in the bullish investments on the market. I want to say thank you to Ken Griffin and Citadel Securities for being, basically having sold but not yet purchased $65.7 billion in securities, because they got to buy that shit back. And maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually they've got to buy that shit back and pay it back, whether it means their insolvency or not, whether it means the insolvency of the people that lent them money, the prime brokers that lent Citadel Securities money or not, whether it means the insolvency of Citadel, the market maker, and Citadel, the dark pool. I don't fucking care. I just know that I'm not fucking leaving until I get paid, until I've got billions with an S, until my brokerage accounts look like an international phone number. I'm not fucking leaving. I'm going to stay here until Jerome Powell gets the motherfucking money printer out to bail out the banks and the market makers and the hedge funds that they need to bail out to maintain financial security of this country. I didn't invest people's pensions into short positions. That was Melvin Capital and Citadel and other hedge funds. And that's BlackRock and Vanguard that should have the fingers pointed at. Archegos. Yes, sir.
Like all these fucking assholes.
Yes, sir. I just bought a stock that I loved, that I realized was being manipulated, and I said, I'm not going to fucking sell this thing and let you guys short it into the fucking ground. You want to try and make money off me, use me as the product? Not anymore. You're the fucking product now, and I want my fucking money, Kenny.
Amen. Amen. Hallelujah. I mean, that's it. That's it exactly. We are going to win. We have already won. It is just a matter of time. They can kick that can all they want, but that can is dented, bruised, beaten. There's holes in it. There's moldy fucking beer sitting in the bottom of it, and they're going to kick that can as far as they can. But you know what? They can only kick it so far. Eventually, we're going to take that can. We're going to run with that son of a bitch, and we're going to make our money. And our bank accounts, exactly like Boss said, are going to look like international phone numbers. And that is when we know we've broken them. Because guess what? We've already broken them. We already have. And I'm excited for that day, guys, because it's going to be awesome. In the meantime, though, make sure you are staying positive. Spread that positivity out to somebody in your life each and every day. That is important. Educate yourself. Like Boss says, and I say this all the time to you guys, educate yourself. Don't take anything that I say or Boss says or any influencer or YouTuber or anybody at 100%. Use that as your starting block. Do your research. Become educated. Become another force in the market, because the more education we have as a whole, the more powerful we become. And the more powerful we become, the more we're going to take these sons of bitches out. And when we do, it's going to be a great day. I'm telling you right now. I think about it all the time, guys. I think about how exciting it's going to be because we are the biggest movement in the market that has ever existed on planet Earth. Think about that for a second. And we got people from every walk of life. We got Democrat, Republican, independent, lesbian, straight, gay, black, white, yellow, brown. Doesn't fucking matter. Everybody's in this with us, and we are all together. We are the only united force on the whole planet right now that has every type of person in it. And you could say whatever you want about that, but that's the absolute fact. And we're united in the fact that we are going to win this. We're going to beat these motherfuckers, and we're going to get rich in the process. So, guys, have a great rest of your weekend. Let's have a kick-ass week. If I don't talk to you guys, have a great Christmas. If you need anything, do not hesitate to reach out. And, boss, a pleasure having you. Hopefully we can have you again sometime. Looks like Ape ghosted us, so we'll have to give him some shit for that. But we'll see if we can get him on board sometime too. Boss, appreciate you. Guys, do not forget, I posted up the links for Boss and Ape's Twitter and his YouTube. And do you have your link handy, boss, for the Lit Exchange? There it is, right there. Can I copy that from there? I can't. LitExchange.app. I will put that up. That is going to be a place where we will be able to get more information, and more information is going to come out on that. Of course, he's not going to tell us too much about that right now. But go ahead and check out that link out. And otherwise than that, guys, have a great rest of your weekend. We are going to wrap it up tonight. What am I going to wrap it up with tonight? Which song should I wrap up the end of stream tonight? You know what? I'm going to go back a little bit. I'm going to go backwards just a little bit in time. And we are going to switch it up to a little Phil Collins tonight, because I can feel it. I can feel it coming in the air tonight. I can. Guys, you have a great rest of your weekend. Stay positive. Don't keep anything negative in your life if it's bringing you down. Spread that positivity to people around you. If you take some time to do that each and every single day, even if it's a complete stranger, spread a little positivity. The world will be a better place. I love you guys. Have a great weekend, and have a great week and Christmas.